where is it? Okay, so I am presenting the case study of COVID-19 for Brazil. And wait. So here's some summary data as of today. There are almost 4 million confirmed cases in total. There are the new cases for today is 42,000, and there are over 120,000 total deaths. And Brazil, comparatively, is the second highest, has the second highest cases in the world, just behind US. And well, though other countries was providing the official data on tests, the Brazil authority did not offer any official release, and there is no, at least as far as I know, I didn't find any like reliable third-party organization collecting such data. And as for the release of data, Brazil had some kind of incidences that I will come by later in this discussion. Okay, so just some visualization. The overall daily new confirmed cases of Brazil, which is in gray, the gray line here. And I pick some example countries from each continent for comparison. The gray line represents like there's no testing data available. So as you can see, it's kind of like having the similar trends with India and the US. And here is the daily new confirmed death. And it's still like, pretty high, though like I checked this morning, some media was reporting a sharp decrease in the cases confirmed and death in Brazil, which also leads to some question about herd immunity, or is it actual drop in cases or just lack of tests? So here are some sequence of policies. I think I made them too detailed comparing to previous discussions, so I'll try to go through them quickly. The first case in Brazil was confirmed in February 25th, and until March 13th, the Ministry of Health just recommended international travelers arriving to quarantine themselves. I mean, it's volunteer for at least 7 days. 4 days later, they start to close borders, and several major cities start to impose non-essential travel, like statewide travel and business restrictions. And subsequent, there's something like public emergency, some measures was applied. And I mean, one of the hottest spot for COVID cases is São Paulo. Just please pardon me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. I don't speak Portuguese. So it was locked down after the 21st of March. And from March through April, other cities also imposed non-essential and travel restrictions. Like there aren't actually specific dates, because there are lots of variation between states, and there are back and forth about the decisions, particularly because of the influence of the current president of Brazil. So through April through May, there are some drug testing that was conducted, and also triggered a lot of like controversies regarding the effectiveness of the drugs. And as till now, like the official health representative said these drugs can still be applied to mild cases, though there wasn't solid scientific confirmations. And in May, some northern states also issued lockdown measures, not those like popular tourist spots, so they locked down later. And in June, that's the interesting part I mentioned about the test data in Brazil, and I mean the data overall, is that the authority removed the COVID data like confirmed cases, new reported cases, new reported death for 4 days. Only after the ruling of the Supreme Court, they had to put the data back on. And through June, Sao Paulo, mistaken as the kind of stabilized in terms of infection rates, gradually reopened. And by gradually reopen, I mean like starts with business markets to the most dangerous spots such as schools and gyms. And obviously case surged. And the capital city, Brasilia, reopened in July, and there's also a very bad boost in the case.
You're running out of time.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. And I mean, like just recent, in August, many of the major cities start to reopen, and there are some question about the herd immunity, and you know, like is this reopen just purely for tourists and economy? As for technology intervention, there's no nationwide efficient contract tracing until recently. Like they finally had a unified platform that is volunteered for people to download through Android devices for contact tracing. There are some like academic institutes that issued some calls and proposals for technology solutions, but none of them were practical and put into production. Some small startups are involved. Some interesting and unique decisions which I found. So the first one is that like they put a lot of efforts besides public health policies, but try to save the economy. But I won't go into detail here. And the other one is kind of just ignore the activity of well-organized crime and mobs, so that these mobs are actually enforcing curfew and isolation, especially in slums and areas where people with low income live, and that kind of saved Brazil from a really bad situation where like the community virus spreading in community, like poor communities were like kind of lagged and just contained, and worked like, I mean, from what I know, from what I gathered, most of the healthcare policies did not work well. And the lockdowns and self-quarantines, as I stated, they're just like back and forth between each states, and there are time lags, and the information share, like I hear some confirmed case in this state, this kind of information flow is not shared. So like state-wise transmission is really bad. There isn't enough testing nor contact tracing. And the official statistic was once obscured, and till now, like still being questioned with its accuracy. So yeah, that's basically, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Boyu. Any questions for Brazil?
Did you see any, did you look into how the politicians responded to the crisis? Like,
yes, I looked into it, and I deliberately just didn't put in there because, like, I mean, that were kind of deviated to too political, but still, like, the overall tone was that this thing is a hoax. So, and they were refusing to put on masks and politicalize the usage of masks. And as I mentioned, the data was forced forced by the Supreme Court to be put back on, and masks were only mandatory until recently. I think it's late August, and there are some, like, it's kind of an irony. There's this island for a popular tourist destination, although I don't remember the name, but the island was recently reopened, but only for those visitors who have had COVID and recovered. So they're really desperate to kind of bring back the economy. Yeah.
Is most of their policy enacted at the like federal level or at the state level? Because I know
Oh,
Brazil is
okay.
kind of like the US.
I think most of the policy that actually was imposed is state level. That's why I keep emphasizing like there's back and forth on state level. Like they, due to the pressure from the president or federal level, they reopen and then they lock down themselves again. Just you lock yourself out and I reopen, so that's equivalent of saying no one was locked down. So there are several back and forth, which is pretty inefficient, and that's why like the case keeps increasing.
Great. Thank you, Boyu. So that finished the second component. Let's enjoy a 3-minute break and come back at 6:20. And when you do, we have 4 countries, starting with New Zealand.